there! Welcome to our 5th segment of the Sketchatorian series, brought to you in partnership with the Norman Rockwell Museum. So, as a quick reminder, last time we talked about R. John Holmgren and the Colonial Revival, with a little bit about Betty Crocker and the Works Progress Administration thrown in for extra giggles. And in this section right here, we're going to talk about George Petty and the Petty Girl, and we're going to do it in 3 parts. In the first part, we're going to talk about the image, the artist, and a little bit about pinup culture during the Second World War. In part 2, we're going to look at the Hays Code, Hollywood, and morality in popular media in America. And in part 3, we're going to try to bring this culture war up to today and pop in a quippy caption. Let's get to it.
All right, here we go. Our image is a movie poster from the 1950 film The Petty Girl. Spoiler alert, this movie has not aged well, and I would not recommend a viewing. But if you're looking for a good classic, I'd give His Girl Friday or Desk Set 11 out of 10 stars. Anyways, Joan Caufield is the main feature of the movie, and the poster. And here she's posing in white point shoes, a black bathing suit with matching bow, and holding a first-generation iPhone, while some other cast members are depicted in the lower right-hand corner with some casting details in between. The actress Joan Caufield stands in as a real-life petty girl. But what does that mean? First, let's look at the artist. George Brown Petty IV was born in 1894 and passed away in 1975. He was born in Louisiana but grew up in Chicago. During high school, he took classes at the Academy of Fine Arts in Chicago and then studied briefly at the Académie Julian in Paris before returning to Chicago in 1916 as World War I was ramping up. Upon his homecoming, he began a successful career as a freelance artist. So successful, he was able to open a studio in 1926. Most of his acclaim came from illustrations of gorgeous women. He created numerous ads for multiple commercial companies: Janssen Swimwear, Old Gold Cigarettes, TWA Airlines, and Weary Luggage. But he's primarily remembered for his petty girls. There are even 2 of them lurking in the crowd on the Beatles cover of their Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album. The Petty Girls were often created for Esquire, a men's magazine which began publication in 1933 and is still running today. Petty Girl illustrations were heavily featured within its covers from 1933 to 1956. In an oversimplified, teleological arc sort of way, if we're looking at idealized American women in print culture, first came the Gibson Girl, next was the Christie Girl, then came the Petty Girl, followed by, at least I would argue, the Playboy Bunny. Petty girls are recognizable for their exaggeratedly long legs and small heads. Falling in the midst of that 23-year circulation span was the Second World War, which ran from 1939 to 1945. With America joining the fray in 1941, post-Pearl Harbor. We looked at World War I propaganda through the poster produced by Howard Chandler Christie, and how women aided in the war effort as EO Minettes, women Marines, YWCA canteen workers, and Red Cross nurses. During World War I, women and men were kept as separate as possible due to fears of unmarried intermingling. Women at this time were actually forbidden from wearing makeup in an effort to keep things professional. During World War II, things were different. Women could now vote and often worked outside the home. Makeup and beauty regimens had become, in part, a way to help keep those gender boundaries in place, since women just insisted on existing in public areas. Instead of forbidding makeup, World War II's motto for women was, quote, "Beauty is your duty," end quote. Montezuma red lipstick straight from the laboratories of Elizabeth Arden was standard issue for women in the expeditionary forces. To learn more about this history, check out Kathy Pice's work, Hope in a Jar, The Making of America's Beauty Culture. Seriously, read anything by Kathy Pice. She's my #1 academic crush. Anyways, parallel to this change for women was a quick about-face in regard to how the military handled entertainment for male soldiers. According to historian Leroy Ashby, quote, "Unlike in World War I, where the military disparaged naughty postcards from France, the government promoted the pinup. Official military magazines like Yank contained photographs of swimsuited entertainment stars in order to assure soldiers that they were fighting for real people who personified the American way of life, end quote. Pictures of women, and even hit songs such as Peggy the Pinup Girl, recorded by Glenn Miller and the Army Air Force Orchestra at Yale for the Saturday evening military entertainment radio show, I Support the Wings, helped remind men of their home life and maintain that expectation of heteronormative boundaries and all. For more on that, historian Robert B. Westbrook has a cool article called I Want a Girl Just Like the Girl That Married Harry James, American Women and the Problem of Political Obligation in World War II. Petty girls were certainly popular with troops, and even graced the nose of the B-17 affectionately known as the Memphis Belle. The illustrations were so popular that at the end of the war, Hollywood decided to make a movie using George Petty's name and illustrative style. That's where our poster comes in. More about how these new gender relationships affected the film industry next time. Later, Gators.